Hello, welcome. You're watching This is Exclusive with me, Shavan Sen. A lot has been done over the last few weeks since the time the preliminary report has come to pin the blame on the pilots. The very pilots who are no longer here to defend themselves. But tonight on This is Exclusive, we make a sincere attempt to put across what the pilot community really has to say about the leaks that are essentially taking place and how exactly they're pinning the entire blame on the pilots and how it is absolutely wrong. And not just that, we're going to also take you through some of the details that we're picking up from our sources within the Ministry of Civil Aviation. All this and much more on this edition of This is Exclusive. But up first, let me take you through the headlines we're tracking at this hour. Wall Street Journal publishes report on AI-171 crash, pins complete blame on deceased pilot, faces backlash. Well, starting this edition with some exclusive breaking inputs on the Air India 171 crash probe. Sources say that the ongoing probe focus is on the uncommanded transition of the fuel control switch. The focus is on the technical snag highlighted by the pilot flying the same aircraft from Delhi to Ahmedabad on 12th of June. Sources say that troubleshooting of the malfunction was done before the flight actually took off from Gatwick. Multiple sensor failure is also being looked into. In fact, the technical log had specifically made a mention of this issue, which they say that the engineers on the ground had already troubleshooted to essentially see what really went wrong. And the fact of the matter is this, ladies and gentlemen, that the flight which had taken off from Delhi to Ahmedabad after landing in Ahmedabad had made a mention of the technical snag. On your screens right now, the details of what we are being told was a technical snag that was reported on the same flight a day before. So two technical snags that we are talking about. One which was reported on 11th of June and the second which is on the 12th of June between Delhi to Ahmedabad. And the moment after it landed in on the 12th, we are given to understand that this technical issue was highlighted. We'll try and go across to our reporter on the ground, getting us the latest detail. But up first, let me go across to my colleague Krutat, who's joining us from the newsroom. Krutat, details basically emerging from the ongoing probe that essentially indicates, number one, the fact that there was a technical snag. The technical snag that was basically reported on 11th of June and then on the 12th of June when the flight landed in Ahmedabad. What exactly was the specific technical snag that was reported and what is it all about?
Well, Shavan, the snag that was reported the day before the crash that took place was an electrical wiring error on the fuel switch, which is being allegedly investigated now. That is what the sources tell us. But the one that is more important, that was flagged just hours before the flight took off, after the initial flight that it took from Delhi to Ahmedabad, was the stabilizer position transducer. Now, what's this stabilizer position transducer is essentially a sensor that controls the aircraft's pitch. Pitch is basically the angle at which it flies, so whether it is up or down, the movement of the nose, and transmits the data and electrical signals to the flight's control system to ensure the responses of the pilots and the inputs are accurate. And the officials, according to the sources that we have access, are saying that the malfunction was checked and the engineers did a troubleshooting just hours before this flight took off. Now, if the malfunction was critical in nature, sources tell us that this could trigger an incorrect response in the flight control system. So if this stabilizer position transducer was indeed having a critical issue, then this could have resulted in incorrect responses while the flight was taking off. And this could have led to an unintended, or what is also now called as uncommanded, fuel cutoffs. This would in fact debunk the entire theory of a pilot-backed fuel cutoff, which the Western media has been running wild since morning about. But sources tell us that a technical snag in the aircraft now is being seriously investigated, Shavan, in this investigation.
Well, thank you very much, Krutat, for getting us the latest details. In fact, this is another aspect that is now being looked into, that is with regards to multiple sensor failures. Ladies and gentlemen, on 12th of June, Air India Flight 171 plummeted just seconds after it took off, claiming 241 lives in one of India's deadliest aviation tragedies. Now, a month later, Wall Street Journal report has ignited a firestorm by pointing fingers at the two seasoned pilots, alleging one deliberately cut the fuel supply. But with India's accident investigation still ongoing and preliminary findings ruling out foul play, is this a rush to judgment or a calculative narrative? Tonight, we dive into the controversy, exposing the clash between the Western media claims and Indian outrage. From the Federation of India Pilots' threat of legal action to questions about mechanical failures, we uncover the truth behind the blame game and ask, are those pilots being unfairly vilified?
Two distinguished pilots, one fateful afternoon. They flew the Air India 171 plane off the runway, never anticipating what was to happen in the next 30 seconds. Mayday, 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 their last communication to the ATC. And a month after the crash, the deceased pilots are bearing the brunt of a shameful and vindictive Western media campaign. The Wall Street Journal's report, citing cockpit audio, suggested the captain deliberately cut off fuel. A barrage of unfound claims, while the AAIB report had mentioned that the pilots tried to restore fuel flow in the final moments. The preliminary report rules out foul play and any deliberate attempt to cut off fuel supply to the engines. The run to cut off puzzle remains awaiting clarity from the final report.
On Air India crash, you'll have to wait for the concerned Government of India authority to make the report public. It is too premature for all of us to talk about what's in it, what's not in it. So we'll have to wait for the final report to come out.
And yet, two highly experienced pilots are at the center of a blame game. The Federation of Indian Pilots is taking aim at the Wall Street Journal, threatening legal action.
Boeing directly has not done anything. Now we are contemplating the action against Wall Street Journal. They are targeting Indian pilots. Where is the evidence? If they have the evidence, yes, we will agree to that. But where is the evidence? There is no evidence. So why are they maligning and with malified intentions against the pilots? And on the contrary, what harm they are doing? The passengers will get a fear of flying. So which is very, very detrimental to aviation.
The Indian Commercial Pilots Association and international pilot bodies have also criticized the report's tone, calling it biased towards pilot error. They point to a 2018 FAA advisory about potential fuel switch disengagement, suggesting mechanical issues may be at play. The Federation of Indian Pilots is standing firm, demanding accountability for what they call reckless reporting. A flight that never completed its journey. 241 lives lost within seconds. Two deceased commanders unable to defend, and a vicious media campaign. India demands answers. India demands closure.
A despicable attempt has now been made by the Western media to pin the entire blame on the pilots. Now, they say it's based on the black box recording. The cockpit voice recording, which was selectively leaked by the AAIB in its preliminary report. Remember, that report hasn't really answered any questions, but it has thrown up more number of questions. And where does it really stop? The very wording of the AAIB report essentially indicates that there is a certain influence. The very word that has been used, transition. Remember that word transition is something that does not really exist as far as Indian pilots are concerned, commercial pilots are concerned, but however has been brought in because that's the flying terminology that is mostly used by the Western world. Let me first take you through some of the attempts that have been made so far to basically put the entire blame on the pilots. First, beginning with what the Wall Street Journal says. The focus shifts to the senior pilot. The cockpit voice recording does not make a mention of who actually asked the question and who exactly responded. Was it the question from the senior pilot to the first officer? That is not known. Article essentially relies just on the preliminary report of the AAIB. Let's move on. Wall Street Journal claims a black box recording. Now, the black box recording, remember, which is already out, it is part of it that has been out selectively, just 2 lines which have also been paraphrased. Let's move on. Blames the pilot based on analysts' claim. Remember, all of it that you see in this particular report of the Wall Street Journal, there are no direct quotes. There's no direct official words really coming in, but they're just simply pinning the blame. Cockpit chat shows pilot was calm, not easy and simple to simply cut off the fuel control system. So what kind of conversations have really taken place, we do not know, because those are the 2 lines that have been leaked or put out in that particular report, which gives no clarity whatsoever. Chat indicates the pilot could have switched off. The reality is this, that pilots have also put the switch back to the run position. Now, whether it was intended or unintended, there are unintended commands that are also now being probed by the AAIB. Let's now take you through who exactly leaked the report, because when the preliminary report was uploaded on the Ministry of Civil Aviation website, this was around 1:30 in the morning. But 24 hours earlier, you already had the parts of the report already being published. Air India Flight 171, which crashes in Ahmedabad on 12th of June. Let's take you through the details here. 8th of July, AAIB submits a preliminary report to the Ministry of Civil Aviation. On 10th of July, Wall Street Journal publishes an article blaming the pilots. On 12th of July, AAIB publicly releases a 15-page preliminary report. 17th of July, the Wall Street Journal posts a second article directly alleging pilot action. Now, that is without much referencing, without much detailed work essentially being done by the reporter of the Wall Street Journal. Ladies and gentlemen, even before a full report has really come in fact, the AAIB has now said that the probe is ongoing. Ministry of Civil Aviation has also asked everyone to refrain from making any insinuations. Here at Republic TV, part of what we call a responsible journalism, we decided to reach out to those who haven't been spoken to. Course-mates, those who have worked very closely with Captain Sabharwal, those who exactly know how this experienced pilot essentially operated. We have spoken to him a short while back. This is what Captain Sabharwal's Coursemate had to tell us. Since the time the preliminary report has been out, multiple attempts have essentially been made to pin the blame on the pilots. Even before a final report is out, some Western media have already speculated that it could be because of a pilot error. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight on This Is Exclusive, for the first time ever, Coursemate of Captain Sabharwal, someone who has taken on Air India on multiple occasions. In fact, there have been multiple litigations that he has been fighting with Air India. Captain Kanani is joining us on this broadcast. Captain Kanani, thank you very much for speaking to Republic TV. This is for the first time that you've decided to finally break the silence. And I believe it is extremely important that the pilots speak in one voice. Today, the Pilot Association has taken on the Western media when they're making all attempts to protect the giants here, Boeing in particular. And the fact that even before a report is out, they're already pinning the blame on the pilots. I want to first begin by asking you, you've known Captain Sabharwal for a while. I want to know a little bit more about Captain Sabharwal and your association with him.
Okay. So we were together in the same academy. We were trained together in the same batch way back in 1991. We were in the Indira Gandhi Rashtriya Academy, Fursatganj, Raebareli. That was specially open to recruit pilots into Indian Airlines and Air India at that point of time. And he came out as a very mature and a sober person amongst all the pilots that I have known. So he would probably, not, if they are trying to blame him, I would still not believe that Sumit
Why
would do
so?
something like
When you
this.
say that there is a, when they're trying to blame the senior pilot, and today one of the report is categorically making a mention of the senior pilot here, because the cockpit voice recorder, which has been placed on record in the preliminary report, does not make a mention of who was speaking to whom, whether it was the senior pilot who was asking that question, who was responding, we do not know. But the Wall Street Journal, it appears, knows exactly what's really happening, because they are being fed with certain information. When you say that I refused to believe that Captain Sabharwal was at fault, why do you say that?
Okay, so basically, Wall Street Journal may have some extra data if they have got, but there is nothing of that sort mentioned in the report of the Accident Investigation Board. And it is not clear from that board, there's not enough data for them to blame it on the pilots, whoever the WSJ feels, or wherever the Western media feels that it's the pilot who has done it. Because one is that if I want to really, really put the aircraft down, then I am the commander. I can do it at my time when there is nobody sitting in the cockpit. And I can, the cockpit door, once it gets locked, I can have that aircraft to myself. I don't need to do it at a time when I'm taking off. And it's a very high workload period during takeoff. We are involved in monitoring the instruments and seeing how the aircraft is progressing. At that point of time, nobody would be interested in thinking of doing this, because the other person is constantly monitoring you or watching you, what you are doing, and you're always confirming each other's actions. So where is the question of these things doing? Although they had a comment that who did this, who switched off the fuel switches, but it is not possible for anybody to believe that those fuel switches are being switched off without the other person knowing. So it's a natural question. It came that, how did the switches go off? Who's done it? So I don't think so, and it's not humanly possible. From what I have seen on your channel, that it was both the switches were switched off within a fraction of a second. You
Right.
cannot switch off both the switches within a fraction of a second. You have to actually lift the switch and move it to close, and it's deliberately it has to be done. It takes time. These are spring-loaded switches which are put in certain slots. Now, if they have not moved back, then they're not even saying in the report that whether it's the switches that have actually fallen back or just the switches have remained in the same position, but the valves, their solenoid valves or their electrical circuit has got some wiring problem, because of which that has switched off the fuel control, fuel to the engine. They have not mentioned that. So AIB is not giving any supporting information in that sense.
Right.
Secondly, AIB is a part of MOCA, Ministry of Civil Aviation. It's another branch of MOCA, just like DGCA is. Both are controlled by Ministry of Civil Aviation. I feel this is a ploy of the government, Ministry of Civil Aviation, to not get these aircrafts grounded all over the world. If there was actually this thing, they are not giving enough data in the initial report.
D- I want to
And
also, since you're making this point about the report and the fact that a question that we had raised before the Ministry of Civil Aviation as well as AAIB, if you remember page number 15, the last point that was made, which was almost like a clean chit that was given to Boeing as well as GE. And we raised this question then, that what was the need for doing this? If you are not very sure what really happened, then why is it that you would make this kind of a statement, giving almost a clean sheet, which means no recommendations have been made against the manufacturers? And somewhere down the line, that raises more questions about the role of the Ministry of Civil Aviation as well as the DGCA.
I agree with you, very true, because they are trying to make it very clear that at this stage, we don't want to blame the Boeing or Air India. Otherwise, they would have to ground the aircrafts. It would result in a lot of loss.
But Captain Kanani, some experts are saying that it is okay because this is a preliminary report. Since I do not have enough data, enough evidence, so I'm not making any any recommendation. In fact, we were being questioned as to why are we making a hullabaloo over this entire issue.
Yeah, at the same time, if I am saying something that there is not enough data to blame the pilots, then why is the Western media blaming the pilots at this stage? Just because they have this line out there, and what if they find out tomorrow that they have enough data that this has happened because of the fault of the machinery or maybe certain maintenance procedures not followed? What if they find out tomorrow? Are they going to, why did they put this line? It should have been kept open. They have actually closed that contention that it cannot be a fault with the machinery by putting that line, which is not correct. They have to keep that contention open. And I feel DGCA is always involved in suppressing data. This case, it's not about blaming the pilots. It's more about it's more about saving the airline. So in the end, if you remove the aircraft manufacturer and the airline, then who's left in the equation? It's the pilots. So basically, DGCA is always trying to save Air India, and they are always in collusion with Air India. And I can say this on TV because they have done that in my case. And I went to court for that they are trying to save Air India and they have fined them only for one flight, whereas they have done thousands of flights today and they're still doing it. And DGCA is looking the other way. It is like a person is doing rash and negligent driving every day, but DGCA has caught them because I've just gone and complained and they've just charged them for a no parking fine and let them go. And still the things are happening. So this is why I went to court. And even today, when the court has reordered an investigation, the DGCA is not ready to give me all the documents. Why? If the inquiry has to be held on the principles of natural justice, give me all the data. In the same way, they should have come out with all the data in the CVR. They should have come out with some credible data in the FDR, whatever is recorded, with exact timings, to come to a conclusion that Boeing or the aircraft manufacturer or their maintenance procedures are not responsible. Without that, just putting that last line makes no sense. Really makes no sense. They are hiding a lot of data, and that is what they've done in my case also. So it is a pattern. I agree. And it is a pattern to save the airline from losses. And the airline is doing it at the cost of putting lakhs of people's lives in danger. Then why did the other airlines like Etihad and Korean Air and all these have ordered checks on their fuel switches? Why did the DGCA come out with an order later? That please, it's an order. It's not just a suggestion or it's not something, it's mandatory that you please check your fuel switches. They've come out with some circular, it's an order. So why do they need to do that? If there was no need to come out with an order, then they should have thought, okay, it's okay. All these things happen, but we don't know. We're not sure at the moment.
One final question.
They don't want these aircrafts. They don't want these aircrafts to be grounded pending the investigation. That is the whole idea.
That's a very
the investigation will carry on.
That you're
but
making,
pending
Captain.
the investigation, they don't want the aircrafts to be grounded.
Absolutely. Captain Kanani, that's a very significant point that you're making. One final question before I let you go. And what is extremely disheartening at this point in time is that how time and again the pilots are being targeted. You have the behemoths who are out there because the pilots are no longer here to defend themselves. And the purpose of really bringing you here on this broadcast is that, Captain Kanani, we really want a a voice for the pilots. I want to end by asking you, since you've known him, and you once again reiterate that there is no possibility knowing him, what is it that you would like to tell all those who are watching tonight as far as Captain Sumit Sabharwal is concerned, and why no pilot with the kind of flying experience that he has would have done something like this? And why, where does this
I believe
really
that
stem from?
Sumit is he's a very mature and, like I said, he's a very sober person. He would not do something as rash as what people are trying to put the blame on him. He would not do, in my opinion. And he has been a commander. After that, he's become a trainer. He's been training pilots. And all these things, when they make you a trainer, they check your psychology also. They take your interview, they check your psychology, they check how you deal with the opposite person. What kind of methods do you, how do you train people? They check you at every stage. And then he's become a qualified trainer. And now once you become a qualified trainer, you have all these things. You simply cannot, the training is always there, and you simply cannot ignore all that and say that the senior guy must have switched off. I would say even the first officer is also not part of this. They are just doing this to protect the airline. At this stage, it is too premature to say whose fault it is or rule out the possibility of anybody like the aircraft or the Air India or anything. It is not possible to play this narrative at this stage. We have very little data based on which people are trying to come to conclusions. At the moment, we have to explore all the possibilities, I agree. But we should first have more data for that before we can actually comment and believe that it has been done by a pilot. We should have actually more data. Even if you turn a switch in the cockpit, it is recorded. The clicks come. These clicks are also recorded. The CVR is very powerful. It's got four or five channels through which all this data, all these voices are recorded. So
Right.
it is not possible that even a whisper goes away without it being recorded.
Well,
I
thank
feel
you
they're
very
just
much,
being very
Cap.
premature in blaming this, and I feel it's very wrong to push it on the pilots just because they are dead.
Well, thank you very much, Captain Kanani, for agreeing to speak to us. And I believe what you have done is a huge, huge favor to the entire pilot community, because it is very unfortunate that no one was really coming forward and really speaking their mind. But Captain Kanani, you finally decided to break the silence, speak on behalf of the entire family, and more importantly, exposing what many would say the lacuna within the Ministry of Civil Aviation, the DGCA, as well as the airline. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
इसको घर पे लगाओगे तो शादी का तो पता नहीं, पर घर पक्का नहीं टूटेगा।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
पहाड़ों में एक हाइकिंग स्टिक भी बन सकती है।
ये है सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जलजीरा मसाला।
पैसा लगाना है तो सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ। डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा, धोखा नहीं देगा, ऊपर नीचे भी नहीं होगा, सेफ रहेगा, सिक्योर्ड, मिनिमम 30 साल का रिटर्न देगा। अब इससे बेटर इन्वेस्टमेंट है तो बताओ। सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम, रहो बेफिक्र।
Sarah, this is your space, play it your way.
Hi, this is Chef Ranveer Brar.
Guarantee you brilliance on behalf of IAH.
MDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल, ये रंग दे, ये खुशबू दे, ये तीखा, ये कम पड़े, क्या निराला MDH मसाला। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो, मतवारा हुआ रे, केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
smartphones to your smart television, trending stories are breaking the internet. And first up, Obamas have finally broken their silence on the divorce rumors. We will tell you what exactly they said. India's Praggnanandhaa has stunned world number 1 Magnus Carlsen in just 39 moves at the freestyle chess Grand Slam. And then we'll show you the great target heist. The shocking reply from an Indian woman caught shoplifting in the United States. And next, Annabelle's handler has died under mysterious circumstances. But the real chill is who he was traveling with, and that is Annabelle. And finally, who will be the next Voldemort? The casting race for the Harry Potter series is on. This is Trending. I'm Akanksha Khajuria. Let's get started. After months of wild speculations that couple's relationship is on the rocks, it seems like, ladies and gentlemen, that Obamas are finally putting a stop on these talks once and for all. Speculations about a possible Obama split gained traction earlier this year when Michelle was absent from several key public appearances, including Donald Trump's second inauguration and former President Jimmy Carter's funeral as well. Things only got weirder online as netizens began linking Barack Obama to Friends star Jennifer Aniston, who in a totally unrelated subplot is now dating a hypnotist named Jim Curtis. Now, putting an end to these very speculation, Obama and Michelle appeared on a podcast, all smiles for the host and the camera. The Obamas joined Michelle's brother on the podcast, and during this candid family chat, the couple dismissed the speculations about their marriage breaking down and offered listeners a peek into their enduring bond. Now, shifting our focus, ladies and gentlemen, what a moment for India. India's teenage grandmaster, R. Praggnanandhaa, won against world number 1 Magnus Carlsen at Las Vegas in the Grand Chess Slam tournament. In just 39 rapid play moves, Praggnanandhaa put Carlsen out of the race. In what many are calling a career-defining performance, the 19-year-old dismantled the Norwegian great in just 39 moves, reinforcing his rising stature on the global chess stage and continuing a global trend for Carlsen against India's new generation of stars. People have stormed the internet. Netizens have declared that Praggnanandhaa defeating Magnus is a checkmate for the latter's ego. Praggnanandhaa was also called GOAT, which is greatest of all time. Plate and straight to your screens. These are the top trending stories of the day. Here's them. Just when the party was about to get started, disaster struck. A massive fire broke out on the main stage of the iconic Tomorrowland Music Festival in Belgium just 2 days after the big opening. The incident occurred when thousands of workers were making final preparations. Organizers shared on social media that while the stage was badly damaged, fortunately no one was injured. An eruption occurred in southwest island following intense seismic activity. A massive fissure stretching 700 to 1,000 meter released smoke and vivid lava as well. And as you can see in the visual, this marks the 9th eruption in the area since 2023. Local authorities have evacuated the area, stating that infra remains safe and the airport operations were unaffected. And China has successfully launched the Tianzhou 9 cargo spacecraft, carrying 6.5 tons of supplies to the space station. And the launch created a stunning vapor trail that was visible in the sky, with netizens comparing it to a cloud-like jellyfish. Visuals of that are on your screen. And a devastating fire broke out in the hypermarket in Al-Qut in Iraq, resulting in at least 60 deaths there. The cause of fire is still under investigation, and authorities are working to determine the circumstances surrounding this incident. And a powerful 7.3 magnitude earthquake struck off the southern coast of Alaska, shaking homes, tossing vehicles and triggering a tsunami warning across a vast 700-mile stretch of the state's coastline. The earthquake's epicenter was located about 44 miles south of Sand Point on the remote island. And for the very first time in the history of UK's parliament, the verses of Hanuman Chalisa were recited inside the Parliament House during Pandit Dhirendra Shastri's visit to the European country. The video of people singing the verses together was shared by Bhageshwar Dham's X handle, and several people, officials, lawmakers were seen reciting the verses with their eyes closed. And in an eerie coincidence, Dan Rivera, a paranormal investigator who was on the US tour with Annabelle, the haunted doll, has suddenly died. He was in Pennsylvania for his Devils on the Run tour, hauling the infamous doll across the country. The 54-year-old paranormal investigator was found dead in his hotel room on July 13th. The exact cause of the death is still unknown and will be confirmed after the autopsy. A man hit play on Mundia to Bachke and burst into Bhangra Step on London Underground escalator, and commuters whistled and cheered for him. The video was shared with caption, "Indian people are so happy." For his songs such as Stupid Cupid, Pretty Little Baby and Mama, singer Connie Francis has passed away at the age of 87, just days after being hospitalized to treat the extreme pain. The veteran musician passed away yesterday at the age of 87, and the news was confirmed by the friend Ron Roberts, who posted a statement on the social media. And India's very own Shubhanshu Shukla took to Instagram to share his post-space rehab journey, saying, and I quote, "Post-flight, even simple tasks like walking straight becomes a challenge. Your reaction time reduces." And Elon Musk has reignited the Jeffrey Epstein controversy on social media, tweeting, "Where is phase 2?" and pressing his AI assistant Grok to dig more into the missing electronic evidence, sparking fresh public outrage over what remains sealed. Just months after their public fallout, Musk is once again tried to initiate the drama. Now viewers, there's a video making waves on social media of an Indian woman tourist identified as Anaya Avlani. She was detained in the United States for shoplifting items worth $1,300, which is approximately 1.11 lakh rupees, from a Target store in Illinois in the United States. The incident, captured in a viral body cam video, shows Avlani spending nearly 7 hours inside the store, wandering aisle and checking her phone before attempting to leave with a cart full of unpaid goods. Now, a store employee alerted the authorities, leading to her confrontation and subsequent arrest.
It's not going to go well. It's not going to go well for you.
But why?
Just we explained it to you, okay? When you take things without permission, that's a crime.
But
okay?
what do I do now? For how long is it going to be?
Hang on.
Huh?
Okay, just hang on. Okay, it's probably going to be 1, maybe 2 hours. Okay, it depends on how quick the paper process works.
Please, I'm requesting you.
CCOM from Algonquin, teaser 51101.
But my bag?
Your bag will come with. Don't worry. We'll have your bag.
Okay, 125. What was the traffic?
1101.
Double lock these so they don't tighten up on you.
What do I tell the family people?
Yes.
And in the video, she pleads with the officers to let her pay for the items, insisting that she did not intend to cause any trouble and emphasizing that she's not from the United States. However, the officers explained that her attempt to leave the store without paying constitutes theft. Watch the reaction.
Too late for that, girl. Pull up your passport.
No, but then what am I supposed to do?
That's none of my business. I don't know. You shouldn't have been stealing stuff.
I've not yet done anything.
Oh, you have. Pull up your passport.
For what? What do I do?
Okay. So you can pull up your passport now, or we're going to take you back to the station and you can pull up your passport there.
Please don't. I'm really.
It's too late. Can you please just pull up your passport?
You promised me that nothing is going to happen.
I did not promise you anything.
Of course, you said that nothing. Once we do the system, you can leave.
No, I said as soon as we're done with our reporting, we'll try to get you out of here as soon as we can.
Yeah, you said you.
I did not.
You won't be allowed.
We're not going to fight with him.
We're not arguing.
We're not going to fight with him. It's too late.
So what do you want me to do?
I need you to pull up your passport. I need to see valid identification for you.
And then?
And then you will be going back to the station with us. I need to see your identification.
Please don't take me to the station.
That's simply not going to happen. You don't get to have that choice anymore.
You
made lots of poor choices today, and now you have to pay for those poor choices.
But he said he's not going to put me in the station.
Well, that's not. He doesn't work for us. I don't know who this man is.
So I'm really sorry. I'm ready to pay for this.
Again, I understand that you're sorry. I know you're ready to pay for it now, but you didn't want to pay for it then. So I need you to give me your identification.
I'm really sorry.
And when asked for ID, she provided an Indian ID that reportedly did not match the name she initially gave. Her repeated question was, is this allowed in India? Was met with officers' retort, are you allowed to steal in India?
Promised me that you can leave once it's scanned.
Simply none of my business. That has nothing to do with our job.
And it's not.
So what do you want me to do?
Passport, please.
I'm not from this country. I'm not going to be staying here.
Okay. How far?
Okay. Are you allowed to steal things in India?
No.
I didn't think so. I didn't think so.
And this footage shared by YouTube channel Body Cam Edition has garnered over 8 lakh views online, with netizens calling her a national embarrassment. The US Embassy has issued a stern warning. They have said, and I quote, committing assault, theft or burglary in the United States will not just cause you legal issue. It could lead to your visa being revoked and make you ineligible for future United States visa. The United States values law and order and expects foreign visitors to follow all the US laws. Fast, zippy, and exactly how they should be. Here are the fast trends for you. Emma Watson's driving privileges in the United Kingdom have been revoked. The Harry Potter star has been banned from driving in her home country after getting a speeding ticket. Now, she will not be able to or allowed to get behind the wheel for at least 6 months. And Watson reportedly had 9 points on her license. Magic, yes, but driving, maybe not. Speaking about Harry Potter, HBO's new Harry Potter reboot has quietly locked in a new Voldemort actor, but for now it will be a secret. Now, despite no official reveal, fan chatter points to names like Cillian Murphy and Matt Smith as the top contenders for this. Filming kicked off in July 2025 at the studios, and the reboot is expected to debut in 2027. And the world's largest land crane, nicknamed as Big Carl, has successfully installed the roof into the second reactor building at the Sea nuclear power plant in the United Kingdom. And India has successfully destroyed 2 aerial high-speed unmanned targets at high altitude in Ladakh sector. On 16 July, Akash Prime of the Indian Army marked a significant milestone in the defense sector, bolstering the security of the nation once again. Now, as a bid goodbye, watch the upgraded variant of Akash weapon system, the Akash Prime, in its full glory. Good night.
MDH की देगी मिर्च,
देगी मिर्च का तड़का, अंग अंग फड़का।
MDH की देगी मिर्च।
Sarah, this is your space, play it your way.
भारत की अपनी दुकान इंडिया सोना,
अपने देश का सामान
इंडिया सोना, इंडिया सोना,
इंडिया सोना।
पैसा लगाना है तो सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ, डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा, धोखा नहीं देगा, ऊपर नीचे भी नहीं होगा, सेफ रहेगा, सिक्योर्ड में मिनिमम 30 साल का रिटर्न देगा। अब इससे बेटर इन्वेस्टमेंट है तो बताओ। सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम, रहो बेफिक्र।
MDH की देगी मिर्च,
देगी मिर्च का तड़का, अंग अंग फड़का।
MDH की देगी मिर्च।
Sarah, this is your space, play it your way.
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
दादी के हाथों का जादू और खुशबू से महकता घर, माँ की मुस्कुराहट और खाने की सुगंध। MDH गरम मसाला,
क्योंकि हर रिश्ता है स्वाद से जुड़ा।
Report published in the Wall Street Journal targets pilot for the Ahmedabad plane crash.
But where is the evidence? There is no evidence.
Federation of Indian Pilots will send a notice to the Wall Street Journal over blaming Indian pilots in the Air India 171 crash.
On Air India crash, you'll have to wait for the concerned Government of India authority to, make the report public. It is too premature for all of us to talk about what's in it, what's not in it. So we'll have to wait for the final report to come out.
MEA responds to the Wall Street Journal report, saying that it's a little too soon to comment.
बोला क्या नहीं था काय बोलला पहिला काय मी बोलतो थांब बोल
Hooliganism back on the streets of Mumbai. MNS cadres beating up a shopkeeper belonging to the Marwari community for making alleged comments about the Marathi community.
Amity has been ranked among the top universities globally for producing the most employable graduates by the Times Higher Education UK. Yet another testimony to Amity's excellent placement record.
इस साल का जो प्रॉफिट है इंटरेस्ट पे डाल देंगे हर महीने ब्याज का पैसा आता रहेगा अगर रेगुलर इनकम ही चाहिए तो आप वो पैसे फिक्स्ड इनकम फंड्स में डाल दो वो क्या होता है फिक्स्ड इनकम म्यूचुअल फंड्स चुने हुए ब्याज देने वाली कंपनी बॉन्ड्स गवर्नमेंट बॉन्ड्स और मनी मार्केट में इन्वेस्ट करते हैं सिस्टमैटिक विथड्रॉल प्लान से आपको ऑन द डॉट फिक्स्ड अमाउंट भी आता रहेगा म्यूचुअल फंड में फिक्स्ड इनकम वाली बात सही है
म्यूचुअल फंड निवेश बाजार जोखिमों के अधीन है योजना से जुड़े सभी दस्तावेजों को ध्यान से पढ़ें।
ये है सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला सिप सिप जीरा सिप जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप play it your way
Sarah, this is your space, play it your way.
भारत की अपनी दुकान इंडिया सोना
अपने देश का सामान
इंडिया सोना
India Zona. Hi, this is Chef Ranveer Brar. Guarantee you brilliance on behalf of IAHM.
ये है सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला सिप सिप जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप
From the Republic Media Network headquarters, it's time for the debate.
On the show tonight at 8 p.m. this evening, when chaos unfolds in the heart of Bengaluru, government puts onus on RCB. At 8:30 p.m. this evening, MNS workers, Gundaism continues on the streets of Mumbai. And at 9 p.m. on the debate, Wall Street journals repeat pilot blame theory without any proof. DGC Air India silent on leaks. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we are putting the facts on record. 11 people are dead, over 50 others are injured. All of this during what was called a victory parade. A celebration that had no official permission, no crowd control plan, no emergency readiness, and yet it was allowed to happen. Allowed in full public view, with full political presence. On June 4th, Royal Challengers Bengaluru held a grand parade right in the heart of Bengaluru. Crowds began gathering outside Chinnaswamy Stadium from 2 p.m. Within the hour, the gates were shut, and shortly after, a stampede broke out. 11 lives were lost. Now, the Karnataka government's own report has confirmed the truth. RCB never applied for permission. They only informed the police just hours before the event. There was no written request, no estimate of how many people were expected, no traffic plan, no medical preparedness. And yet, the state went ahead. Thousands of police personnel were deployed. The Deputy Chief Minister was at the airport welcoming the players. The Chief Minister stood on the stage celebrating with the team. This was not a private event. This was a government-backed show, a politically facilitated disaster. Even worse, when officials said the event was cancelled, RCB kept calling fans to join in. Now, tweets were still going out at 3:14 p.m., minutes before the stampede happened. And through this report, the Karnataka government is now trying to wash its hands of all responsibility, putting all the blame on RCB while ignoring its own role in enabling the chaos. So tonight, we ask, who allowed this? Who looked the other way? And why did no one step in? Because when a state acts like an event manager for a cricket team, accountability dies. And with it, 11 innocent fans. This isn't just mismanagement. This is a failure of governance. And tonight, we're calling it what it is. Let's debate.
Years of wait. 11 lives lost. Two mega photo ops. Chinnaswamy Stadium. One trophy and zero accountability. 43 days since the Chinnaswamy Stadium stampede, the nation still is looking for answers. In the High Court, the Karnataka government submitted a status report, but effectively the entire report was just one word. In the entire report, the Karnataka government explained why it was RCB that did not seek the permission, how RCB was responsible for calling the crowds, how RCB staff was unprepared, how RCB only gave an intimation letter, and various other sentences with RCB in it. Not just that, the Karnataka government also submitted a detailed analysis of RCB's social media feed till the last second. All this effort to build a strong case on why Chief Minister Siddaramaiah, Deputy Chief Minister D.K. Shivakumar, Home Minister G. Parameshwara and the entire Karnataka government was not responsible. Not one decent defense, however, of how the event of Vidhan Soda with family members of politicians was made possible for the VVIPs. And yet, the stampede outside the stadium was RCB's fault. Even the Congress minister could only say that action will be taken, against whom remains a mystery.
I don't want to jump to conclusions. Once the report is, we see it. See, this is not a blame game here. If there is some lacuna or if there has been some mishandling of the situation, who was responsible, we have to take action. That's why the commission has been appointed, and it essentially created a hue and cry, and the people died, and it was a national news, international news. We have to take action. So let us wait for the report, see what the report says. Based upon that, the cabinet will take a further decision.
See, whenever there is a huge event happening, then it is the responsibility of the department to make appropriate arrangements, and they should be aware of the situation. These are all things there. So definitely there are lapses. Some young lives have been lost. We cannot take it so easily. So this, even at least to prevent this incidents in future, we have to take some action, isn't it?
So far in the case, there have been 3 FIRs, 4 arrests, and even suspension of 5 police officers. And yet, the 300-page report of Karnataka government couldn't muster one sentence on its own accountability. Perhaps that answer too rests with the High Command. The only question remains, why all in for photo ops and all out for accountability?
Joined by National Spokesperson of the BJP, Sanju Verma, on the debate tonight. I am also joined by Syed Asad Abbas, who's a political analyst, also speaks for the Congress party, Advocate Manjunath ND, also a pro-Congress voice. I'm also joined by Commodore G.J. Singh, who's joining us today as a resident of Bengaluru. In fact, he was present there, right there when the stampede took place. Also, Shekhar Vijayan joins us in a similar capacity. Thank you so much to all of you for joining me on the debate. But let me begin with some very, very important questions that are rising, that are coming out of this report that has been submitted. And let me go across to Syed Asad Abbas first. Syed Asad Abbas, had the Karnataka government leased the state police to the RCB to run it the way they wanted, because now they're washing their hands off all responsibility. Nothing is their onus now.
Sucharita ji, I've always believed with great power there's great responsibility and equal accountability. I believe, as a citizen of this beautiful country, as a Kannadiga myself, and a resident of Bengaluru all my life, undoubtedly this was a very unfortunate tragedy that took place. Being an RCB fan myself, over the last 18 years we waited for a trophy, and this happens on the day we bring back the trophy to town. The fact of the matter, now coming to the Karnataka Congress government, I would certainly say that the Karnataka State Police is an extended arm of the Karnataka State Government. Shri Siddaramaiah ji, our Honorable Chief Minister, took action against 5 police officers, 3 of which were IPS officers and 2 of which were state KSPS officers. He also held a commission, which is the Justice Michael D. Khanna one-man
Those 5 police officers were made scapegoats. It was their doing. The stampede, 11 people being killed, so many injured. It was the doing of those 5 police officers is what you're telling me, Syed Asad Abbas.
No,
there is no onus on the state government that allowed a mass event like this to happen without police permission being given. And you're telling me that 5 police officers have been held accountable for this?
I will tell you, as per the Justice Michael D. Khanna Judicial Commission, the report is out, where the blame is on the Royal Challengers Bangalore team, the management, Karnataka State Cricket Association.
Exactly.
Along with that,
Exactly.
the event management
Asad, the
company.
blame. Okay, Sanju, let me just get Sanju into the debate. Sanju, the blame is on those 5 officers who've been held accountable. The blame is on the RCB. The blame is on Virat Kohli. There is no blame on the state government.
Sucharita, let's look at it from a layman's perspective. In a school, you have the principal who takes the final responsibility, whether good, bad, or ugly. In a college, it's the dean. In a media house, it's the editor-in-chief. In a corporate entity, it is the CEO. And in a state, it is the chief minister. Now, Siddaramaiah has to either be thoroughly incompetent or he's lying or both. Hypothetically assuming what Siddaramaiah says is right. He says, I was not aware, RCB did not take permission, and they went ahead and hosted this grand event at Chinnaswamy Stadium. I want to ask Mr. Siddaramaiah, on that very day, you were seen clicking photographs with Virat Kohli along with your grandson. You posted that on social media, and you did so very carelessly, very remorselessly, with no regret, within 72 hours of the horrific tragedy on 4th of June 2025. Today, in hindsight, you're blaming Virat Kohli, you're blaming his promotional video, you're blaming RCB, you blame the police constabulary. Don't forget, Sucharita, he suspended the police commissioner of Bengaluru, the additional commissioner, law and order of Bengaluru. He suspended the deputy commissioner. He also suspended almost every senior policeman at the Kabon Park police station.
Yes.
What did the High Court tell Siddaramaiah? High Court reinstated the police commissioner. High Court reinstated the senior IPS officer Vikash Kumar. And when Siddaramaiah last week wanted to file a closure report, High Court said you cannot blanketly file a closure report suo moto without first putting the contents of the investigation report in the public domain. Now when Siddaramaiah saw कि अब तो कुछ नहीं हो सकता, High Court has given a clean sheet to the police constabulary. तो अब क्या किया जाए? To borrow your phrase, Sucharita, who should I make a scapegoat? Okay, let's make Virat Kohli, RCB, the scapegoat. My final point is this. My final point is this.
So those 5 police people, 5 police officers are accountable. The RCB is accountable.
I will answer that.
Virat Kohli is accountable. There is no onus on the government. They did not have a role to play in. They were just taking photographs. The deputy chief minister and the chief minister were just taking photographs at the event. They had no role in the entire planning of the event. Now, as a citizen of Bengaluru, Commodore G.J. Singh, I want to ask you, are you ready to buy this, that the state government is saying the onus is not on us? We never really gave the permission. The police never gave the permission. It was the RCB that forced us to have this event in Bengaluru.
No, not at all. I would say the whole blame lies on the government because the government was present there. The chief minister who represents the government of Karnataka, deputy chief minister, this whole cabinet, the whole secretariat, everybody was present there, not in front of few people, but lakhs of people. There was not a place to stand in front of the Vidhan Sabha. And then the road leads to the Chennai Stadium is a very short distance away from there. The whole road was crowded, overcrowded. Police was present there. Now, such a mega event cannot take place without the chief minister himself showing the green flag. Not only that, I would also
sir,
say...
sorry to interject you, but you were present there. So please tell our viewers that. It's very important. You saw it all with your own eyes.
I was very much present there.
Yes.
Because we have an army club there. I was present there. I went to see as to what all is happening there. And when the stampede took place, the event continued inside. Our deputy chief minister continued to have that, celebrations.
Yes.
Everybody inside continued to have it. People were dying outside. There was a big stampede there. There was an utter confusion. And then on top of it, You had a police force which was there, but I think it was not sufficient there to cope up with the situation. And I cannot understand how can the police be there without the permission of the government, of the chief minister, of the home secretary, of the deputy chief minister. When the government, the whole of government is there, most uneducated, illiterate person will understand that this is the doing of the government. Why don't they take the blame on themselves?
Exactly.
Why blame the RCB?
Yes.
Why blame the police? Why blame when the police had also come up and said, look, this event should be postponed for a week. We are not prepared. But yet the government says, no, they are coming. His chief minister was actually wanted to steer away that time fame, steer away the limelight. He wanted to be in the limelight. He wanted to take probably political mileage of it that, look, I am with the team, I am with India, I am with the people, RCB. But after the event has taken place, they have turned around and they said, no, it is not done by us.
You know what, Commodore? Those initial pictures which came in from Bengaluru showed the Deputy Chief Minister actually in a celebration with the team inside the stadium, and the stampede had started outside and those visuals started coming in from there. So they had no idea what was going on. Now, Advocate Manjunath, is it a weak government in Karnataka? Why don't you accept it? Because if it wasn't weak, it would not bow down to the pressure by the RCB. Now you're making it like the RCB pressurized the government and they had to have the celebration without any arrangement, without police permissions. You were forced into have that entire program.
So whatever the celebration that would be taken place inside the Chinnaswamy Stadium, that was not in the knowledge of the government. The RCB management had written a letter to the concerned police station on before the day only at 6:30 p.m. At that time, the concerned police have rejected the claim of the request of the RCB team. And again in the social media channel, they have so displayed that. So we are going to celebrate the RCB victory in the Chinnaswamy Stadium. That was also not in the knowledge of the government. So after
did the senior police officials not tell the chief minister and the deputy chief minister